The Alpine Slide Action Park opened in Vernon Township, New Jersey in 1978. It was unlike any other theme park. The marketing described it as a place where visitors controlled their own experience. There were no operators monitoring every move. Guests were responsible for their own safety. The Alpine Slide became the park's signature attraction. It was designed as a summer alternative to snow sledding. Riders sat in small plastic carts equipped with a single hand-operated brake lever. The track itself was made of fiberglass-coated concrete and asbestos, winding 2,700 feet down the side of a mountain. The concept was simple. Pull back on the lever to slow down. Push forward to speed up. Riders could reach speeds of 50 miles per hour if they chose. There were no seat belts, no roll bars, no automatic braking systems. The first serious accident occurred within months of opening. A cart derailed, sending a rider into the woods with multiple fractures. Park management adjusted the track slightly, but made no major changes to the brake system. On July 8, 1980, George Larson Jr. purchased a ticket for the Alpine Slide. The weather was clear. The track was dry. Conditions seemed ideal. Larson weighed approximately 200 pounds. The brake lever on his cart was designed for average weight distribution, but no staff member checked the equipment before he departed. He began his descent around 2 p.m. Halfway down the mountain, his cart began to shake. Multiple witnesses on the chairlift above reported seeing him pull hard on the brake lever. The cart did not slow. Instead, it gained speed through the curves. At the steepest section of track, where the angle increased sharply, the cart's wheels lost contact with the surface. It went airborne for approximately 20 feet before slamming down off-center. The impact threw Larson from the cart. He landed headfirst on the concrete embankment bordering the track. Emergency services arrived within 15 minutes. He was pronounced dead at the scene. The cause of death was determined to be severe head trauma and a broken neck. An internal investigation by Action Park revealed that the brake mechanism on Larson's cart had worn down significantly. The friction pads were almost completely smooth, rendering the brake nearly useless at high speeds. Park records showed the cart had been in continuous use for 8 months without replacement parts. No criminal charges were filed. Action Park paid an undisclosed settlement to Larson's family. The Alpine Slide remained open. Over the next 16 years, Action Park would be the site of 6 confirmed deaths and countless injuries. In 1982, a 15-year-old boy drowned in the tidal wave pool when lifeguards failed to notice him under the surface. In 1984, a heart attack on the park grounds was attributed to the shock of the cold water in the Cannonball Loop, a water slide with a complete vertical loop that was later closed permanently. By 1996, mounting lawsuits and insurance costs forced Action Park to shut down. It reopened briefly in 1998 under new management before closing again. In 2014, the location was redeveloped as Mountain Creek Water Park, with entirely new rides and strict safety oversight. The Alpine Slide was never rebuilt. Verrückt. Verrückt. In German, the word means insane. The ride that carried this name was the tallest water slide in the world. It stood 168 feet, 7 inches tall, taller than Niagara Falls, taller than the Statue of Liberty from her feet to the torch. From the summit, riders could see across the Kansas City skyline. Schlitterbahn, Kansas City, opened Verrückt in July 2014 after multiple construction delays. The slide had been designed in-house by park co-owner Jeff Henry, who had no formal engineering degree. Computer models created by hired engineers predicted serious problems with the raft design, including the possibility of rafts going airborne. Those warnings were dismissed. The ride operated in 3-person rafts. 1 rider sat in front, 2 in back. A lap bar secured passengers, and Velcro straps held their feet. At the top, riders tipped forward into a 17-story drop at a 60-degree angle, reaching speeds of 70 miles per hour before shooting upward over a second hump and splashing into a runoff pool at the bottom. To prevent rafts from flying off the slide, a metal netting system was installed over the second hump. It was added during construction as a last-minute safety feature. From opening day, Verrückt experienced problems. Sandbags used in testing were launched into the netting with such force that they tore open. Rafts frequently went airborne on the second hump. Engineers recommended major redesigns. Park management adjusted the angle slightly and added more padding to the netting supports. The ride remained open to the public. On August 7, 2016, Caleb Schwab arrived at Schlitterbahn with his family. He was 10 years old, the son of Kansas State Representative Scott Schwab. Caleb stood 4 feet, 11 inches tall, and weighed approximately 73 pounds. Verrückt safety rules required a combined raft weight between 400 and 550 pounds, distributed evenly. Caleb was paired with 2 adult women, Hannah Barnes and Matrasa Bates, both in their late 20s. At 2:30 p.m., The three were strapped into their raft. Caleb sat in the front seat. The attendant checked the lap bar and Velcro straps, then cleared the raft for departure. The raft descended the first drop and accelerated through the valley. As it climbed the second hump, the front end lifted into the air. The raft went completely airborne for a brief moment before slamming into the metal support hoops that held the netting in place. Caleb struck the hoops directly. The impact decapitated him. His body remained secured in the seat. Hannah Barnes suffered a broken jaw and facial fractures from debris. Matraka Baetz sustained a broken orbital bone and severe lacerations. Both women survived. The raft completed its slide and came to rest in the pool at the bottom. Park staff immediately called emergency services. The slide was evacuated and closed within minutes. Caleb was pronounced dead at the scene. Investigators later determined that the raft had been overweight and improperly loaded. With Caleb's light weight in front and two adults in back, the center of gravity was shifted dangerously rearward. This caused the front end to rise during the climb up the second hump. A detailed review of Verrückt's operational history revealed more than a dozen previous incidents. Riders had suffered concussions, neck injuries, and cuts from the netting. At least one raft had gone airborne and struck the hoops before, but the rider escaped with only bruises. None of these incidents had been reported to state authorities as required by law. Kansas does not mandate amusement ride inspections. Parks are responsible for self-reporting accidents and maintaining their own safety standards. Verrückt had never undergone an independent safety review. In March 2018, Schlitterbahn was indicted on multiple charges, including involuntary manslaughter. Park co-owner Jeff Henry was arrested. However, in 2019, a judge dismissed all criminal charges, ruling that the indictment was improper. Verrückt was demolished in November 2018. The entire structure was torn down and removed. Schlitterbahn, Kansas City closed permanently in September 2018. Thunder River Rapids, Dreamworld, located on the Gold Coast of Queensland, Australia, is the largest theme park in the Southern Hemisphere. It has operated since 1981 and attracts millions of visitors each year. The Thunder River Rapids ride opened in December 1986. It was designed as a family-friendly water attraction. Riders sat in circular six-person rafts that floated along a man-made river, passing through tunnels and gentle drops before returning to the loading station via a conveyor belt. The ride had a simple mechanism. Water pumps maintained a consistent flow. The conveyor belt lifted rafts out of the water at the end, allowing them to slide back into the loading area. For 30 years, it operated without major incident. On October 25, 2016, the ride was scheduled for normal operation. 6 people boarded a raft at 1 p.m. Kate Goodchild, age 32, her brother Luke Dorset, age 35, his partner Ruzi Aragi, age 38, Cindy Lowe, age 42, and Kate's 2 children, a 13-year-old girl and a 10-year-old boy. The raft completed the circuit normally and approached the exit conveyor belt. Ahead of them, an empty raft had become stuck on the belt due to a water pump malfunction. Water levels in the unloading area had dropped several inches, causing the empty raft to bottom out and stop moving forward. The occupied raft carrying the 6 passengers continued forward at normal speed. It collided with the stationary raft at approximately 1:03 p.m. The impact caused the moving raft to tip vertically, standing almost upright. The 4 adult passengers in the rear seats were thrown backward into the conveyor belt machinery. Kate Goodchild, Luke Dorset, Ruzi Aragi, and Cindy Lowe were pulled into the mechanism and crushed between the conveyor rollers and the raft. Kate's 2 children, seated in the front, were thrown clear of the machinery. They landed in the water and were pulled to safety by staff. Neither child was seriously injured, but both witnessed their mother and uncle being killed. Emergency services arrived within 8 minutes. The conveyor mechanism was shut down manually. All 4 adults were pronounced dead at the scene. Their bodies remained trapped in the machinery for several hours, while investigators documented the scene. The immediate cause was identified as a failure of the water pump system. When water levels dropped, the empty raft lost buoyancy and became wedged. The ride's emergency stop system, designed to halt the conveyor if an obstruction was detected, did not activate. Sensors meant to detect stalled rafts had not been maintained properly and were not functioning. A subsequent investigation by Workplace Health and Safety Queensland uncovered severe systemic failures. Dreamworld had not updated the Thunder River Rapids ride's safety systems in 3 decades. Maintenance logs showed repeated issues with water pumps, but no corrective action had been taken. Staff operating the ride had no formal training in emergency procedures. The park's engineering team was understaffed and lacked oversight. In October 2020, Dreamworld's parent company, Ardent Leisure, was fined $3.6 million Australian dollars, the largest workplace safety fine in Queensland's history. The court found that the company had shown a reckless disregard for safety over an extended period. The Thunder River Rapids ride was permanently closed and dismantled immediately after the accident. Dreamworld implemented sweeping safety reforms, including third-party audits of all rides and comprehensive staff retraining programs. The families of the 4 victims received undisclosed financial settlements. All 4 are memorialized at Dreamworld in a private garden area near the park entrance.